Hi guys and welcome to another episode of Screen Talk. Today I'm going to be giving a brief overview of The Flash Season 1, which in many cases is probably the best season. They probably should have stopped at 3, but they carried on till 9. But we're going to go through Season 1. I'm going to go through most of the important points, not every single goddamn point that's in this show, because then we'd be talking for hours and hours about metahumans. So starting off is we get this scene of Barry's mum's death. Basically, Barry Allen is a kid in this scene. We hear him get tucked in, and then we hear screaming, and we go downstairs, and red and yellow lightning is flashing around his mum. He gets taken out and he's on the street. He goes back to find his dad's being arrested, and his mum is dead. Now, we later find out what happens in this scene, and it's quite a shocking revelation for the show if you haven't read the comics or anything like that. So then there's a time skip to when Barry's older and he's a CSI for the CCPD, working with his adopted dad, Joe West, whose partner is Eddie Thorne. Now, that name is very important and will come up later. And basically, they are investigating this dead body and everything like that. They find out that this bank heist. It's not a dead body at first, it's a bank heist. They find out it's these two criminals who have now escaped into a plane. As this is going on, the particle accelerator explodes from Star Labs. Harrison Wells, Cisco Ramon, and Caitlin Snow have set off the particle accelerator. It goes wrong and it explodes and takes down this plane, but it also strikes Barry with lightning and Barry goes into a coma. Now, everyone thinks Barry is in a coma and is dying due to his heart stopping, but his heart isn't actually stopping, it's just moving too fast for the machines to read. And this is where you kind of get the idea of Barry is now the Flash, yada yada yada. This is still episode 1. Barry then finds out he has powers later on. After leaving the coma, he gets woken up by the song of Poker Face by Lady Gaga. Now, I'm telling you this because this is actually a crucial part of the story, because that song comes back again and again and again and again. Then we get to see Iris and Eddie Thorne have a little date, little kiss, whatever, and we find out that Joe doesn't know that Eddie is dating his daughter, but everyone else kind of does. It's quite weird. We then go back and see Barry save Joe in the first episode against Weather Wizard, they call him, who can create tornadoes inside buildings and everything like that and control the weather, as you can guess. And Joe finds out because Barry basically takes off his mask while fighting Weather Wizard, and Joe then says you cannot tell Iris because she will be in harm's way. So then we get to see Barry's dad in prison for wrongfully killing his wife. They talk about how that night happened, and Barry, you can see in his eyes that Henry kind of knows something's going on, and Joe then says we're going to help get him out, and we now believe that a man in yellow did actually kill Nora Allen. Then we get to see Star Labs helping Barry train, get faster, and hone his speed, really. Cisco then creates Flash a suit where it can scan his biometrics, keep his vitals, and has comms in it so that they can talk to each other and help sort each other's problems out and help Barry take down the bad guy of the episode. Now, we then get to see that Harrison Wells, who is paralyzed, isn't actually paralyzed in this. He stands up and he goes into the secret room and talks to an advanced AI called Gideon, and they check this future time newspaper written by Iris West Allen that says Flash vanishes in crisis in 2024. And the rest of the seasons are built on this future timeline thing, but we kind of ignore it for now. Then we get a guy who can control people's anger in the next episode and sends Barry crazy with anger, jealousy over how Eddie is getting to be in love with Iris and he isn't. And then we get a crossover of Arrow, and it's basically a fight between the Flash and the Arrow. Arrow kind of wins, and it's kind of a big deal because Oliver Queen's just a normal man and he takes down this super fast guy, and it's quite intense. But then we see that Barry actually just tells Iris that he actually loves him instead of holding that anger in. We then find out that Harrison Wells is actually the Reverse Flash. We get to see the suit and everything after they steal this tachyon device. Then Caitlin tells us about Ronnie, her husband who died in the particle accelerator. But we'll come back to that in a minute. What's next is, oh my god, this is the worst part of the season. It's all based off Professor Stein, where, oh, I'm fading out of existence, I need to merge with Ronnie, and it was so annoying. But they become Firestorm, and that bit is pretty cool because they then go off and learn how to control their powers. Everyone finds out that Eobard Thawne is Harrison Wells and he is the one that killed Barry's mum. But as this is happening, a big tidal wave is coming over the city, and Flash has to run back and forward, back and forward, back and forward to stop the tidal wave hitting. Now, in this timeline, Iris tells Barry she loves him and everything like that, but it then gets reset as he's stopping the tidal wave, and he runs back in time a full day. Now, he doesn't mean to do this, but within that day, they find out Eobard Thawne is a revert. We kind of see Eobard Thawne kill Cisco. We find out he's a Reverse Flash, everything like that. But now no one else knows again. And so it's kind of this big, ooh, secret bad guy hiding within friends kind of thing again. But throughout this whole time, Joe has been suspicious of Harrison Wells and kind of thinks that he is the one that murdered Barry's mum because he came to Central City 15 years ago. Joe gets really close, so then Harrison has to pay him a visit and say, stop or I'll kill your daughter, basically, as the Reverse Flash. And then Eddie Thawne goes to propose to Iris. Now, this is where it all kicks off. So Barry now finds out that Harrison Wells is the man who killed his mum. So they kind of chase him off, do all this thing, and then Eddie gets kidnapped by him, and Harrison Wells reveals his name is actually Eobard Thawne, and that he is a great descendant of Eddie Thawne, and Eddie does not get to marry Iris, Barry does. So this puts Eddie in a crazy headspace of, oh, well, this guy told me he's from the future, I'm not going to get to marry Alice, wah. It's kind of annoying. But then we get Gorilla Grodd come in and basically distract the team from saving Eddie. That's all that he basically comes in for. He listens to Harrison Wells because Harrison Wells protected him when he was a gorilla. Then we get a flashback to when Eobard Thawne takes Harrison Wells' body to create the particle accelerator, and we find out that he has been trapped in this timeline for 15 years because when he killed Barry's mum, his speed stopped working, and he killed Barry's mum to stop Barry becoming the Flash. But in order to get home, he had to make Barry become the Flash to get home. It's quite the good twist that no one expects, and it's a good reason for him to stay there, and it's good reason for him to do this whole thing that he's been doing. Now, they capture Eobard Thawne. They ask him why he's done all this, yada, yada, yada. and he says he just wants to go home, and gives Barry the option to save his mum. Now, this is a big kerfuffle, and everyone's like saying, "Oh, you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't mess with the timeline." And Joe basically has a pep talk with him, which is a staple throughout the seasons. Of, hey, look, if you have a chance to save your mum, go ahead and do it. No one's going to hold it against you. No one's going to even know, because you will return to this exact point in time, and no one will be any wiser to the timeline changes, because it affects people like that. So Barry lets Eobard Thawne out, and what he doesn't tell them is when this happens, a singularity will come up and destroy Central City, and they will have 2 minutes to stop it before it takes them out, or something like this. I'm probably missing a lot of things, but I watched this like a week ago and I'm trying to remember. So both of the speedsters run round the particle accelerator, and Barry gets thrust into the past the night his mum is killed, and we find him in a closet, and he opens the door, and we see the two lightnings around Nora Allen. Now, in a past episode, we find out that Barry was actually there because Cisco and Joe investigated the house and found Barry's blood as an adult. But it wasn't the Barry that went back in time. Now, it was another Barry that was fighting the Reverse Flash to stop him killing Barry as a kid. And as Flash saves himself, Reverse Flash then murders his mum, but the other Flash tells Barry not to intervene and just let it happen. And we get this nice little thing of Barry gets to say goodbye to his mum and kind of accepts her death, which he's been holding in all this year and all this season. And bursts back through the portal and takes out Eobard Thawne. Now they have this big fight, but Eobard is winning, and as Eobard goes to kill Barry, we hear this gunshot, and it shows that Eddie Thawne, Eobard's great-great-granddad, has shot himself and killed himself just to save Barry and the timeline and stuff like that. Eobard gets erased from the timeline, and the singularity opens up. And this is where Ronnie and Firestorm come in. Flash runs into the singularity to close it, keeps running around it. He's running in a goddamn black hole, for God's sake, and they don't use a decent song or anything like that. They do later seasons, but not in this one. And Ronnie helps him, and he flies into the black hole and causes a firestorm explosion, ends up dying, but Professor Stein lives, which is really weird. And the singularity closes, and the season ends. Now, I know that's a brief overview of the season. It was actually my favourite season of The Flash. I'm currently on season 9 at the minute, and I'm struggling to watch it because it's just not a good season. It looks lazy, the CGI is really bad. It does get worse throughout the seasons going on, but it is a very, very hard show to watch at the minute. But this one had all the twists and turns you want. Friends being enemies, enemies being friends, secrets, lies, reports, journalism, everything like that, time travel. It's everything you want from a show about the Flash, really, and it gives you this heartwarming feeling with the pep talks that are given, like the love story that goes on that transcends time, past, present, and future. And it's just crazy to think that this is just one season. The next season is a doozy. But I will cover that in another episode. I'm only going to do the first three seasons because I really cannot be bothered to talk about the rest of them because they are just not that good. They get lazy with the story, everything like that. More time travel, more timeline changes, and more of the same shit, different day. But I hope you guys enjoyed this brief episode of Screen Talk. If you did, please like, subscribe, and tune in for next week's episode, which will be on Lucifer. Thank you, and goodbye.